Aisha gazed at her crimson lips in the mirror. She looked graceful and elegant in her snow-white wedding dress. The white color of the dress stood out in striking contrast against her beautiful black skin. This contrast seemed to illuminate her face, enhancing its natural beauty and radiance. Standing in front of the mirror with just 1 hour left before the wedding, Aisha couldn't ignore the overwhelming mix of emotions washing over her. One could think she was bubbling with happiness, but her eyes were clouded with sorrow. As the minutes ticked away before the wedding, Aisha's heart felt heavy, suffocated by an inexplicable sense of confinement. She couldn't shake the feeling of being trapped, as if invisible walls enclosed her spirit. Despite the gown's ethereal beauty, its intricate lace and flowing fabric seemed to pale in comparison to the heaviness that enveloped her soul. Aisha felt like a prisoner yearning for release from the suffocating weight that pressed down upon her. When Aisha was little, she eagerly explored every corner of her native village with the curious nature typical of children. It was during one of these adventures that she met Malik, a boy with a mischievous grin and a twinkle in his eye. Since then they were inseparable, spending endless days chasing after butterflies and creating mischief around the village. As they grew older, Aisha and Malik's bond only strengthened. They shared everything from childhood secrets to big dreams under the shade of a big baobab tree. And somewhere along the way, their friendship blossomed into something deeper, something that whispered of love and tenderness in every shared glance and every shared adventure. Aisha's love for Malik was as boundless as the African sky, stretching across the horizon with an intensity that defied words. She loved him for his laughter, for the way his eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled, and for the warmth of his presence that enveloped her like a comforting embrace. She loved him for the way he listened to her dreams and aspirations, supporting her with unwavering encouragement and belief. Aisha loved Malik for his kindness, for the gentle way he treated everyone around him, and for the empathy that radiated from his soul. She loved him for the countless adventures they embarked on together, for the memories they shared together, and for the way he made even the simplest moments feel magical. But most of all, Aisha loved Malik for the way he made her feel seen and cherished, for the way he accepted her for who she was, flaws and all. In his presence she felt like the truest version of herself, free to laugh, to dream, and to love without reservation. They dreamed of creating a cozy home together, a place where they could make memories and find comfort in each other's embrace. In their minds, they pictured a kitchen filled with the delicious scents of Aisha's cooking, echoing with laughter as they gathered around the table with loved ones. Their dreams went beyond just the idea of a home. They imagined starting a family of their own. They talked excitedly about the prospect of raising children, watching them grow and learn, and teaching them the values that had shaped their own lives. Kindness, compassion, and resilience. Everything changed one day, when a fancy carriage pulled by majestic horses arrived at her family's doorstep, causing a stir among the villagers. They whispered excitedly, curious about the unexpected arrival of such luxury in their humble surroundings. Those were people from a rich family from a neighbor village. They arrived dressed in their finest, projecting an aura of importance as they disembarked from the elegant carriage. They were greeted with polite nods and smiles as they entered Aisha's family's home, where they engaged in discussions behind closed doors. Meanwhile, the villagers observed with keen interest, their minds buzzing with curiosity and speculation. Some speculated about potential alliances or business opportunities between the families, while others pondered the purpose of the visit and its potential impact on Aisha and her family. After hours of talking, those people emerged from the meeting, their expressions revealing little as they bid farewell and departed in their carriage. Aisha's heart raced as her parents called her over, their faces serious. They explained that a rich family nearby had asked for her hand in marriage and offered a lot of money. Without thinking much about it, they agreed to the proposal. They explained that the financial support from this marriage could lift their family out of poverty, providing stability and opportunities that they had never imagined. Feeling proud of themselves, her parents emphasized that this decision was made out of love and a desire to secure a better future for their entire family. They believed it was a chance to escape the struggles of poverty and build a more prosperous life together. Aisha's heart sunk as she listened to the news. The idea of marrying someone she barely knew, solely for the sake of financial stability, felt like a betrayal of her own heart. She had loved only one man in her life, and it wasn't the wealthy suitor her parents were now speaking of. Her mind raced with memories of moments shared with Malik, the warmth of his smile, the way his hand felt in hers, the laughter they shared under the African sun. All of it flooded her mind, intensifying the ache in her chest. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Aisha looked to her parents, her voice trembling as she pleaded with them to reconsider. But their expressions remained resolute, their decision final. In their eyes, the promise of financial stability and social status outweighed the desires of their daughter's heart. Defeated and heartbroken, Aisha bowed her head in resignation. She knew that in their village, the will of the family superseded individual desires, and there was no escaping the path that had been laid out for her. The next day, with a heavy heart and tear-stained cheeks, Aisha mustered the courage to seek out Malik. With each step, her resolve wavered, knowing that her words would bring him the same heartache she now carried. As she approached him, her voice quivered as she relayed the news, each word a painful admission of their shattered dreams. Malik's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. "I refuse to accept this," Malik declared, his voice tinged with determination. "I won't let our love be dictated by the decisions of others." With a resolute shake of his head, Malik made it clear that he was unwilling to succumb to the fate that had been imposed upon them. He stood firm in his conviction, determined to defy tradition and fight for the future they had envisioned together. "I won't resign myself to this," he repeated, his gaze unwavering as he met Aisha's eyes. "We have a choice, Aisha, and I choose us." "But what can we do?" Aisha's voice trembled with resignation as she spoke, her heart heavy with the weight of their circumstances. "Your family is poor, and the wedding is just 2 weeks away." Her words hung in the air, a stark reminder of the harsh reality they were confronted with. Aisha grappled with the limitations imposed by their lack of wealth and the pressing deadline of the impending wedding. With a heavy heart she continued, "I don't see a way out of this, Malik. It feels like we're backed into a corner." As time passed swiftly, the days melted into each other, and the once distant wedding date loomed closer with each sunrise. In the bustling village, preparations for the impending union were in full swing, a whirlwind of activity that enveloped the entire community. The anticipation hung thick in the air, palpable in every corner of the village, as the residents eagerly awaited the grand event. Neighbours buzzed with excitement, exchanging gossip and speculating about the forthcoming celebration, while the rhythmic sounds of drumbeats echoed through the streets, signalling the imminent festivities. Amidst the fervour of the preparations, Aisha found herself consumed by frustration and despair. Each passing day served as a painful reminder of the life slipping through her fingers, a life she had once dared to dream of with Malik. As she watched the village come alive with excitement, her heart ached with a sense of helplessness, knowing that her own happiness was slipping further out of reach with each passing moment. As the wedding day loomed closer, Malik's visits to Aisha became rare, leaving him to spend more time alone with his thoughts. They became distant. Lacking was the warmth and closeness they once shared. Despite their longing for each other, external pressures and the weight of their circumstances seemed to create a divide between them, leaving them emotionally distant and struggling to connect on the same level as before. Aisha was consumed by despair, her heart heavy with sorrow and anguish. Aisha's soon-to-be husband was known for his cruelty, causing a sense of dread to wash over her whenever she thought about their upcoming marriage. His reputation for being harsh and unkind filled her with fear and unease as she considered the prospect of spending her life with him. And there she stood, facing her reflection in the mirror, just 1 hour before the wedding. Aisha trembled as a knock on the door pierced the stillness, sending a jolt of apprehension through her. It was Malik. As he entered the room, a blend of emotions swirled within Aisha. Malik's eyes softened as they fell upon Aisha, dressed in her wedding attire. There was a mixture of admiration and sadness in his gaze, a silent acknowledgement of the bittersweet reality they faced. He took in every detail of her appearance, from the delicate lace of her gown to the soft glow of her eyes, etching the image into his memory. In that fleeting moment, they shared a silent exchange of emotions, a silent farewell to the life they had dreamed of together. He whispered, "I love you," his voice filled with a depth of emotion that echoed the unspoken longing in Aisha's heart. "I won't give up on you," he continued, his voice filled with determination and resolve. Tears welled up in Aisha's eyes, cascading down her cheeks in silent streams as the weight of her emotions became too much to bear. With a tremor in her voice, Aisha asked, "But what will you do? Do you have a plan?" Her eyes searched Malik's face, hoping to find reassurance in his response. Malik paused for a moment, his mind racing with the weight of their situation. Taking a deep breath, he finally spoke. "Just keep holding on to love, Aisha, even when it feels like the world is against you. Love will always find a way." With those words lingering in the air, Malik turned and quietly left the room, his resolve firm as he prepared to face the challenges ahead. The rhythmic beat of drums echoed through the village as the ceremony began, signaling the start of the traditional African wedding. Villagers gathered beneath the shade of towering trees, dressed in vibrant colours that danced in the sunlight. Aisha stood at the wedding, her posture straight, but her shoulders slightly slumped with the weight of sadness. Her eyes, usually bright with hope, were now dulled by the sorrow that gripped her heart. Despite the colourful attire adorning her, there was a palpable heaviness in her presence, a silent reflection of the inner turmoil she grappled with. Her to-be husband, in contrast, exuded an air of cold indifference. His features were stern, his gaze devoid of warmth as he stood beside Aisha. Dressed in regal attire that spoke of his status, there was a hardness to his demeanour that sent a chill down the spine of onlookers. The reputation of his cruelty preceded him, casting a shadow over the ceremony and adding an element of unease to the proceedings. Just as the vows were to be exchanged, a sudden commotion erupted. Without warning, a gang of gangsters stormed into the wedding venue, their presence heralded by screams of terror and chaos. The once festive atmosphere was instantly transformed into one of panic and fear. The bandits brandished weapons, their menacing shouts piercing the air as they began to rob the guests and disrupt the proceedings. Tables were overturned, decorations trampled, and the sound of breaking glass added to the cacophony of noise. Aisha's heart raced with fear, her eyes wide with shock, as she tried to make sense of the surreal scene unfolding before her. Amid the chaos wrought by the bandits, Malik suddenly emerged as a beacon of hope in the turmoil. With a determined stride, he made his way to Aisha, his eyes locking onto hers with a fierce intensity. Without hesitation, he took her trembling hand in his touch offering a sense of reassurance. "Come with me, Aisha. We need to go," Malik said firmly, his voice cutting through the panic that surrounded them. With a firm grip on her hand, he led her away from the chaos, his steps quick and purposeful as they navigated through the crowd. Aisha's heart raced as she followed Malik. With each step they took, she felt a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness, knowing that together they would find a way to escape the danger that threatened to engulf them. With Malik leading the way, and Aisha following closely behind, they raced through the chaos until they reached the edge of the village, where a tranquil lake shimmered in the evening sunlight. There, nestled along the shore, a small boat awaited them. Without hesitation, Malik helped Aisha into the boat, his movements swift and sure as he untied the moorings. With a powerful thrust, he pushed the boat onto the serene surface of the lake. As they glided across the calm waters of the lake, Malik turned to Aisha with a determined look in his eyes. He knew it was time to share the truth with her. "Aisha," he began, his voice steady but filled with urgency, "I need to tell you something important. A week ago, I was at the big market in Marrakesh, and quite unexpectedly I discovered that there were men looking for your husband-to-be. They said he owed them a lot of money." Malik continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "I knew immediately that was our chance," he explained. "They spoke of his reputation for cruelty and the countless enemies he had made over the years. I told them that I know where they could find him. So I gave them the exact time and place of the wedding. I made them promise not to harm the guests, but to settle their accounts directly with the man." Aisha's eyes widened in shock as Malik's words sunk in. The realization of his actions, the risks he had taken to protect her, washed over her like a wave. She reached out and took his hand, her fingers trembling against his. "Malik," she breathed, her voice filled with gratitude and awe. "You risked everything for me." "Aisha," he murmured softly, somehow deep down, "I always knew that we would find a way out." Aisha's heart fluttered at Malik's words, her breath catching in her throat as she gazed back at him, overwhelmed by the depth of emotion in his eyes. "But how?" How did you know this? She asked. Malik's smile widened, a glint of mischief dancing in his eyes. Because our love is stronger than any obstacle, he replied, his voice filled with quiet confidence. You are the love of my entire life, and no matter what storms the world throws our way, true love knows no obstacles. I don't know what life has in store for us, but as long as we walk it hand in hand, together, our love will illuminate the darkest of days, making every moment an adventure worth living. With you by my side, there is nothing more my heart could ever desire. Malik, she murmured, her voice trembling with love. With a man like you, I have nothing to fear. I must admit I didn't believe you could save us, but you proved me wrong. Now I understand that when you truly love someone, you must trust them completely. That's what love is about. Their hands intertwined, they leaned into each other, their hearts beating as one, surrounded by the serenity of the lake waters. In that moment, they knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, bound by a feeling that transcended time and space, and illuminated their path with the radiance of pure, eternal light.